Testing 1, 2, 3. In the place to be. Da, 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 da. It's that time of morning when we start singing before we turn everything on. Let's see. Where's that other window? Okie dokie. Alrighty. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second day of the 2D Animation Virtual Summit. I am your host, Tony Ross of TonyTeach.com, and got a lot of really cool interviews happening today. And just going to get a couple of things set up here. There are my overlays. So I think first up we actually have my friend and colleague, Mr. DeMille Bryant's going to be joining us, and actually we're going to attempt to do something we haven't. I don't know. Well, we actually did it once. We're going to do it live, so that should be interesting. And then I believe following that, hold on, dude, there you are, man. So DeMille's already ready to go. Let's go. So hold on one second. But yeah, we're gonna have what is it? Susana Rodriguez gonna be talking about some stuff, which her work is awesome. Character design and illustration. We're also gonna have Chris Burns from Exit 73 and talking about his 2D game that they built it in Flash MX like currently, and yeah, it looks awesome. So, and then last but not least, well, we're going to have lunch at some point, but last but not least, we have my friend, colleague, and mentor, Mr. Mark Simon, Godfather of Storyboarding, is going to be talking about freelancing and how it doesn't have to be a crap ride. That is I keep forgetting the word. How do you that word? Sort of each initial stands for something. So, feel free to chime that into the comments. So if you have any idea what I'm saying, let's see what's going on with my comments here. Why are the comments not loading? Hold on. La 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 la. Okay. So what I'm going to do. Bring it up. My interview down there. I think. Let's see, where are we at? Gonna see if we can actually bring this up. And la 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 da 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 da. Let's see. Can I bring in my interview? Like me. That's what's wrong. I was like, I don't need to be on here. So just put DeMille on there. That's what's weird. Okay, solo. Thank you. There we go. I was about to say, that's a little better. DeMille, can you say something real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Always fun playing with technical difficulties. Okay, so I got that going. Where is my... You're not muted, so what's going on with that? see. It's an acronym. Thank you, Mark. Like, it's like,
Hey, Mark.
Mark's like, can't take you anywhere, dude. Okay, why is this not coming on? Hold on. So while we're getting this set up, this should be a lot easier.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, so
It's the work office.
always fun with technology. Give me one quick second. Okay, that's there. So let me see where. Oh, wait a minute. Give me one second here. Excuse me.
See, Howard's using his icon as usual and silly.
DeMille, thank you for your patience and figuring this out.
It's all good. It's really early
So,
this
ladies
morning.
and gentlemen, this is why Tony normally does most of these recorded. So it's like, why am I not hearing anything? Okay, headphones, yes. Okay. And
So wait, Tony, you can't hear me or something? I think they can hear me. No, I don't think you can hear me.
DeMille, if you're talking, what? By the way, can everyone? Am I the only one not hearing DeMille, or is it
Yes.
just?
Everyone else can hear me.
Oh wait. Excuse me. Ah, Mark. Okay, so it's a Tony thing. Okay, hold on one second. Let me unplug my computer. Well, not let me rephrase that. Let me unplug my headphones from the computer. DeMille, say something.
Something? Can you hear me?
Okay. Why is that? Okay. All right, testing 1, 2, 3. Go again. Why
Can you
did
hear me?
that? All right, gonna try this a different way. All right. In approximately 20 seconds, we'll be starting here. Ah, perfect. Okay, got you now. All right. Sorry about that. Where are we on time? How bad are we? Okay, perfect. It's 10:13. So yes, at least we got that straight before 10:15. So I'm early. So
Can you hear me though?
I can. Can you hear me
Oh,
now?
awesome. Nice. We're in business.
Yes. It's like Man, it's like, so if you're just joining us, welcome to the 2D Animation Virtual Summit. Got all the technical stuff out of the way. Hanging out with my buddy, my colleague, Mr. DeMille Bryant. And we're doing this live, which we normally, with the cool thing with a virtual summit, you normally pre-record everything, which is how we're able to pull this off. We, as in the royal we, like me, myself, and I usually. So, and I was chatting with DeMille. I was like, oh man, we told him right out of time. Let's see if we can do this live. So this is me trying out one of the new features in the software I'm using. I'm using Ecamm Live, and evidently the program's fine. It's just Tony doesn't know how to plug in his headphones correctly. So, yeah, okay, it's one of those things. So enough of me rambling. DeMille, sir, welcome back. You're a 3-year veteran, am I correct? So,
That's right. Yeah, that's my third year back.
man, it's always a pleasure. So, please tell people, who the heck are you? Why are you here?
Oh man. Well, I'm an artist. To sum it all up, at the end of the day, I am an artist. Um, I just use my art to experience it in different mediums, and I chose to use animation as my medium. Through the years, I've started off as an animator and moved my way up to directing animation, and then directing storyboards, and also producing content independently. So throughout the years, I've had the opportunity to do some of everything, you know, animate, design, produce, and direct.
Coolness. Um, but do you have, or can you say which one is your favorite, or are you just saying all of them are all the above?
You know what? You got to have a nice blend of them both, of them all. Like, I think if you do one thing too long enough, like, it'll drive you nuts. If you storyboard too long, you get burned out. If you design too long, you get burned out. So I found over the years is that if you bounce back and forth between various areas of the industry, it creates a nice balance. I would like to say that, like, if I am doing multiple jobs, then I like to do one creative job and then one kind of like business tech job. Like, if I'm directing and that's more creative, then I would like to produce on the side. Because you're not working on both sides creatively. Through the years, I think early on when I first started directing, when I got into producing, I enjoyed producing more. But over recently, I'm enjoying directing more. So, it switches, it changes.
Cool. So my thing, and I saw you post something, and I didn't know if I should say it. Are congratulations in order? I saw you post something on Facebook with what you're up to.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's open to talk about. I just moved over to Housebroken season 2 as one of the episodic directors, which means that for the last 3 years I've been on Bob's Burgers. I've done 4 seasons for them, and so I'm still with the company Bento Box that produced both series. So it's just making a change to get back into directing, and that was the purpose of making that change, is to get back to directing.
Very cool. So here, let me ask you a question, since you've been there on the other side of this, and what I want to know, and for the people out here, there's always people who are saying, yeah, I want to get into the business, or I want to do this. And my question to you is, what is the worst offense to have in your portfolio that you see more often than not?
Hmm. Um, that's an interesting question because, um, I mean, obviously, it's what we see on TV and what we've grown up with, uh, like anime, like Dragon Ball Z and One Punch Man, and all these different like complex ideas that are really cool to draw, but extremely hard to get into. So it's not that I discourage artists as they submit that type of work into their portfolio to not do that. I just want to give them um, better understanding of what you're attempting to do. Because a lot of my colleagues actually work in like action boards and work on animation. And even myself, some of the freelance work that I do is in anime. So it's it's challenging to see that and say like, whoa, if it's not right, and then if it's really far off, it's a topic of conversation to say, hey, you might want to practice this a lot more because it's very challenging to get into animation going this route. I try to never discourage anybody from saying, hey, don't do that, because there are people that just that might be their passion. You know, they want to go into anime, but you know, it's just really gauging their skills where they are and being completely transparent and saying, hey, I think you got what it takes, but you got a lot further to go. Or you might want to switch gears because you may not get to where you're going. And I say that for anime because it's an art. It's something that is produced overseas, and we are trying to imitate this art that we don't really have a great understanding for. So, you know, it's something that I make sure that I tell people that it's one, there's not a lot of jobs, you know, and that's what it comes down to. If you're focusing on your art to get a animation job, this job may not be accessible to you. So, you know, I always tell people like, well, you have to gear your portfolio towards something that's going to get you a job. You know, that's kind of what I did. I geared my portfolio to what was going to get me a job when I graduated out of college. So I guess that's my advice on that. Um, you know, I guess it's not really an offensive thing to me, um, because art is subjective. You know, as long as you have the fundamentals to get you there, it can be translated in any medium. So,
Coolness. Now I'm going to throw you a question I didn't send you earlier, but
oh, okay.
it's like, you know me. So, like, might as well do it live. Based kind of similar to what you just talked about. This is why I wanted to ask this. What do you think is the biggest misconception about people who say, I want to be an animator, or I want to go in the animation business? What do you think is the biggest misconception that people are coming in there with?
I mean, I think that the biggest misconception is the same biggest misconception that people that don't know animation is that it's easy. You know, um, animation takes time. It takes a lot of time, um, and I think that people should know that before they get into the animation business is that you have to be able to focus and dedicate a specific amount of time to get the quality of work that is going to take to, you know, have a job in the industry. Um, and I guess the other thing really is that you're not just going to get an animation job and that's it. Like, oh, I got this job, and um, you're good. You got this 9 to 5. You got this 40-hour a week. That's not how the animation industry works. I mean, that's one of the things I wish I was told before, you know, I actually went into animation. Um, you you jump into this pool of what you call like a freelance pool. You are a freelancer. You are in business for yourself. And maybe I was told that, and I'm just hard headed and I didn't listen. But um, this is that is something that I want every animator to know is that it takes a long time to actually get to a place of consistency where you are picking up consistent freelance work. When you first start out, you're going to get a job, and that job is going to end. You know, I like to compare it to uh, live action. You know, you're an actor essentially. You are only as great as your best project, your last project, and just like actors, they interview, you know, and auditions for projects. Artists do too. We take tests. We take tests to showcase our skills to say that hey, we're eligible and we understand the show. And that show and that production will last for, you know, 3 to 6 to 12 months. But then once that job ends, it's your job to find another job, point blank. So it's not like one of those things like if you don't like inconsistency and you don't like being uncomfortable, then animation is not for you because you have to hustle and you have to be thinking about your next move. Um, some places, you know, like I know there's plenty of places in Atlanta that you can work at and you can stay there and that keep you there. Um, and there's plenty of people that where they had a career path where they've been at one studio for the last 10 years, and that's a blessing. But that is not everybody's opportunity. Like many of us, you'll get your first job and you'll get the experience that you need, but then you need to use that experience to power you forward to another opportunity. If animators don't know that, or anybody that's getting into the industry, if they don't know that, um, and they not comfortable with that, don't do it because it's hard. It's extremely hard.
Excellent, and thank you for that. There is, it's I know a couple of people, and I won't call them out by name, but it's like I almost want to yell like, "Did you hear that, so and so?" Yeah, Tim Giovanni, like well said. Yes, man. What's up, Tim? Tim hanging with us from Shanghai, man. It was like it is.
Oh man, here.
Yeah, yeah. It's like,
I just want to tell.
all right. So let me ask you this, and kind of tied into this. Do you worry that the field of animation or character art is completely oversaturated with no signs of letting up, or do you feel that all this competition is a good thing?
It's the greatest thing that's ever happened to the industry.
Okay.
Well, I have to say this. It depends on where you live. You know,
Okay.
I'm in California, so the industry is slightly different from Atlanta. And just to back that up, just to give the audience like some you know background, is that I am from Atlanta. I'm from Georgia, Stone Mountain, Georgia, and I started my career in Atlanta. Um, and I made the choice to move to California, and that choice was because I felt like the industry was oversaturated in Atlanta, and I needed a place, I needed a playground to play in, and I felt like California was the right place. Um, you know, back in 2013, I moved to California, not to stay there, but to experience what it was like to work in Hollywood. And what I've learned is that man, it is extremely competitive in California, but in the best way because there's so many people and so many projects. You can actually be the best version of yourself because these positions need to be filled. You know, they're always going to need a director. They're always going to need animators. They're always going to need storyboard artists. And right now we're in this place of what I like to call, and I feel like I talked about this last year, streaming wars. You know, like every platform is throwing as much content on their platforms as possible. And because we're facing this pandemic, the first thing that all these platforms looked at as an option is animation. So all those deals start happening in the midst of Disney Plus opening up. I mean, all these platforms went crazy just to make sure that they can compete, um, which meant that they picked up a lot of content. You know, so many projects are being animated right now, and there's not enough artists. There's not enough artists to do the jobs that they're picking these projects up. So, in some ways, it's not oversaturated at all. This is the best time for you to get into animation. And if you are in animation, this is the best time for you to move up. If you are an animator, it is your time to become a director. And if you are a character designer, it's your time to be an art director or a lead. Because if you're not doing it at the job that you are now, you can move on to another job that will promote you to do it. You know, and that's just a fact. Everyone that is around me, all my colleagues that were storyboard artists, character designers, and animators are all have moved on to lead jobs because there's just a huge market for it. So in that sense, I don't think it's oversaturated. I think in Atlanta, I love Atlanta. Honestly, I dream of coming back home to Atlanta and working there. But I do feel like there's not enough opportunities for people to grow right there. And I would love for there to be more opportunities there. So that I think that's the difference is that there's just the market is different out here. You know, um, I think that I've experienced saying no, and that has been my something I had to learn in the last 2 years is that you can't work on everything, no matter how exciting it sounds. Um, there's so many opportunities being offered that man, I have to turn it down because I'm in a contract. I'm like, man, that's nice, but I can't work on that. So if that's happening for me, I'm sure, and I'm on the end where we're looking for artists. I'm always looking for artists as well. That it's it's go time. I think in the next 5 years, when things slow down, where everything actually hits that point of oversaturation, where we have animation, too much animation content. Because the bad thing is, animation content is not always going to be great. So there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff that goes on these platforms that are kind of subpar, you know. And once that, all that content's out there, things are going to slow down. And it's better to have a higher position. And this is why I'm telling everyone to, if you're in an entry level job, this is your time to move, because when things slow down, the cuts happen at the bottom. So um, that's my feedback for that.
That's an interesting point, and I was like, yeah, go ahead and move up to director and go moving up, and you're like, oh, I get it. It's like so you got a plan. I like that. So, now I was talking with one of the other people that's going to be on. Actually, I think right up after you. When I was talking with Susanna Rodriguez, let me ask you this question: do you feel that the pandemic helped with respect to not having to relocate, and has remote work opened up, or do you think everything, since everyone thinks that the quote unquote pandemic is over, has remote work kind of got shut down? Do you still have to, let's say, if I'm in Atlanta, do I still need to move to California to to do the best, or do you think it's more remote now?
Um, I mean, the pandemic has changed the way that we will produce animation forever. Um, this is not going to change. The way that we're working now, like this is where I work. I'm at home, and I don't even know what my office looks like. I haven't been in the office in 2 years. Like my desk is still there, from when the pandemic started. So, um, I would say this is that, and I'll share a story about what I was doing before the pandemic. Um, all the freelance that I've done outside of major studios, I've always done that with, friends and colleagues and even studios outside of California. So I've over the years I've worked with like studios in the Philippines privately, independently, and studios like Echo Bridge, that's located in Florida. Currently working with them, and I've worked with people all over the nation. In various places in Spain and in Europe, all these different places, and I've never met them. And we've gotten the whole production done that way, and I've done that before the pandemic. Um, but that's something for a larger studio. They want you there because being inside the studio means productivity. The pandemic changed that because it forced us to have to be productive and still produce a TV series at home. And now that these major studios have seen that works, um, it's not going to change. Like, one, when things go back to normal and they say, hey, let's go back to the office, uh, we're still going to have artists that live in Canada or live in Texas or live somewhere else. Um, and that is very much the case right now with the projects that I'm working on. My team is somewhere everywhere, and for the most part, I've never met them, but we're producing content. So this idea is never leaving. You can almost live anywhere you want to at this point, as long as you're qualified to do the job. I think the only thing that may change is what the rate is going to look like. Are they going to pay you the California rate and you live in Texas. I think that is something that may change over the years, but for now, I think this is something that is not going away, and it's great for anybody that do not want to live in California and want to work in the industry. It's possible because I have people that don't live in California that are working with me right now.
Cool. Um, I'm gonna throw. We think. Where is this? So Leanne Chambers was asking a question, and it's like, right up here from Atlanta, Tim Boom gets a lot of studios, etc. They're able to connect students with mentors in Canada. Uh, Looking for mentors and connections with any ideas and students here to connect in Atlanta. Um, and Demille, you might know the answer to this. And I'm wondering, are we're gonna have two different opinions? So I'll throw out, Leanne. I will throw this out. One, definitely, if you haven't already, I would reach out to Asifa South, ASIFA South, um, and I know Ginger is the head of that. I'm trying to think. Oh my gosh, she just got married. I'm trying to remember what her last name is. So it's like, but I know that that's one direction. And the one thing I'm hoping, maybe, in my opinion, I think Canada does a better job of doing like little mentors in places and with animation than Atlanta, in my opinion. And I could be wrong. Bill, do you want to tag on to that or
I mean,
any?
if you're gonna, yeah, I have to agree. If you're gonna go the animation right, you want to be an animator and you want a mentorship program. It's Canada. I mean,
Yeah,
Canada just blows any studio out the water when it comes to animation. You know,
yeah,
and so um, right now they seem to be the biggest outsource and outlet to animation, meaning that Canada is building um, their productions around having animators. I think Atlanta is kind of built the same, where it's built on having Harmony animators. Um, California is different. It's built around having story artists, and we ship it out. So I think Canada is the right place. Um, I don't have too many connections as far as like where where you should like contact. I know that Titmouse has one of the most amazing um, Harmony, you know, one network. They have so many Harmony animators connected to it. A lot of animation is being produced in house at Titmouse in Vancouver. So I think that might be a good start. Is trying to get a mentorship with Titmouse, and I will say for myself, Titmouse is a amazing studio. I worked for them back in 2015, 2016. I was there as an animation director, and the great thing is that some of the interns that they brought into the projects that I was currently working on, they're like out here like in lead roles. They got this internship and then turned around and became like um, production managers or um, lead animators or like design design leads or something like that. Like Tin Mouse is amazing outsource. So if you're looking for harmony, I would start in Canada and I would connect with Tin Mouse. But I'm sure there's plenty of more out there. But I'm just going off what I know.
yeah. I was like, I'm listening to you and watching the comments. Mark Simon, coming in with the big information on that. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you. All right. Huh?
I was just saying thanks, Mark. I haven't seen Mark in like ages. You Mark was one of my professors back in two colleges actually, Westwood College and and Art Institute of Atlanta.
Okay.
So I had the opportunity to, learn from him twice.
Yeah, I was like Mark is Mark is as far as one of my artist crushes. He's definitely in the top five, possibly top three. So like trying to talk to people like, you know how cool you are. So let me jump subjects a little bit. This is my last question for you, and I think it's important because I've seen a couple of people. I've seen my students say or do different things on social media, and I'm going like, please don't do that. So let me what is your opinion on quote unquote cancel culture and the arts, specifically our community? Should artists start censoring or regulating themselves more, especially on social media? What do you think about that?
Um, I think everybody should use the power of discernment when it comes to that. I'm very, me personally, I'm very conscious of the things that I post on social media. Um, you know, I don't use social media as a outlet to for people to get to know who Demille Bryant is. That's not that's not what social media is for me. It's a branding tool. It's an opportunity to promote myself. As one Demille Bryant, the the man, but then Demille Bryant as the director, the producer, the storyboard artist, and so that comes with promoting the right ideas, and it all depends on what my brand is. Now, if your brand is, and I've seen this, is drawing naked women in very curvy bodies, you know. Now, I can't tell you that that might not get you a job with your portfolio. Like that might be your brand. It might get you freelance. You know, it might get you a lot of followers. But you got to look at what the end game is. Do you want to work in the animation industry, or do you just want to create, really cool, provocative ideas? There should be a balance. Um, I think we're in this time where we're afraid to actually produce our own ideas because we're afraid of being canceled. We're afraid that this information that we promote out in the social media world is going to hurt us. But I think one of the things is that uh, cancel culture does not exist. It it's not real. Um, it's something that we have place value onto it, but we're seeing this through uh, many leaders like Kanye West and Dave Chappelle and other artists that they're able to overcome even the worst of it. I mean, you look at how much um, shit they've gotten for the things that um, they have said and how it has not hurt them at all. It's actually made them richer. So in that scheme, it's like, okay, they're rich, they're millionaires, they can do that, and that's why I say discernment. You know, um, if you have an existing brand where this is your brand to provoke, you know, culture or you know, provoking ideas that start conversation, then that's that's up to you. I can't tell you not to do that, but there's a lot that comes with that. Um, you will lose deals. You will lose opportunities. People will not work with you. Um, it won't. It won't. Not everyone's going to say, "Ah, I'm not going to work with you ever again." But you are creating a space where people have to make decisions. You know, um, and it's up to you as an artist to decide whether you are going to place that type of target on your back. You know, um, me personally, I wouldn't want that target on my back. There's things I probably would want to draw, um, but I think that it doesn't fit in my brand. So if I'm promoting one idea, it might hurt me, and I have to take that in consideration. That the things. This is not like my personal journal, and social media is not my account where I'm talking to my personal, intimate friends. I think there's a time and a place for that. Um, And so when you're when you're placing content out there, know that there's consequences, and there could be a cause and effect. There are good consequences and bad consequences to everything you do, and I think we just need to be aware that if you do this, knowing what the consequences are going to be, you know. So that's my thoughts on it.
I heavily agree on that, and I was telling someone earlier where I think when I first got on Facebook, for instance, I was doing it for job hunting because they said that's one of the best places to network. So I've always looked at if any of you are following me on Facebook, I would say Facebook for me is business under the guise of appearing personal. Like I might post a joke here or there or something like that, but it's still seriously business. And I've had several people that I got into heated debates with, and they're cursing me out and everything like that on Facebook, and I'm like, excuse me, sir, but perhaps you could reword that. And I'm thinking like, man, if we were in the street right now, but we're on Facebook, so I'm going, and I was joking with somebody because I had one of my older mentors reach out to me. You can tell that Tony's a man of God because he didn't curse that person. I said, actually, it's more business. my brand can't curse this person out as much as I want to. Okay, block, you get out of here. I can't deal with you. So I love the idea. As you're saying, you have to figure out what you're going to put out there, and just kind of make that work. Let's say,
Yeah, it's it's a slippery slope. You know, I have friends that are able to produce certain type of content, and it helps them. You know, the more content that they release is the more momentum they get. You know, and it helps them. But I've also seen with those same friends like, oh man, I got to tone that down. You know, um, especially if you work for a company like Disney. Like,
yes.
man, like you work for a company. There's just a lot of things that when you work for a major studio that they're just not going to allow you to do. So uh, do that if you want to. Like there's consequences.
Right.
If you want that to be your brand and you work for a major studio, they will fire you. I've seen it. I've heard stories about it. Um, I mean, we are just in this world where we have transitioned to from people thinking that social media is just a place to have fun and flex and you know, showcase their whatever lifestyle they're living. But that now has changed. You know, social media has now become more of our identity, and more likely than not, when you apply for jobs, they look at your social media. They
Yeah.
know
Yes, they
they
do.
looking at that. You know, I can't tell you enough times like people have gone through my social media. I leave it open public just for that, so it can invite people into my personal world because that is part of it. Oh well, he has the brand. Well, let me look at his personal life. You know, they do both. You know, so you have to keep that in mind if you're drawing things or creating content that may be offensive. When you go apply for jobs, they're gonna look at your stuff. So
Man, and I'm tripping because I totally forgot about this, and I posted about it, but you reached out to me. I want to say it was maybe last year sometime, might have been before that, but you reached out and um, you reached out and you were like, "Hey, I'm looking for two animators, looking to get their start." You know, I said, "Well, can I recommend anybody?" And I'm like, yeah, I can think of two people right offhand. So I said their name, thinking like, okay, bet, let me go tell this person, you know, to send their portfolio your way. And we're chatting, and you hit me back already, huh? There's not a lot of animation in the work. I just looked at their portfolio, and I'm like, oh man. It's like, so I was telling people like, not even on the not even on the be politically correct or whatever, but the fact that I said here are some artists or here are some animators, And I mentioned her name, so I'm thinking like the old school way. It's like, yeah, man, get your reel together and send it to them. And within that conversation, it was like a 5 minute conversation, and you're like, yeah, man, they don't have they don't their work is good. I don't see any animation though. Okay, well, thanks. And I'm like, dude,
I mean, you gotta move quick, and I know
I know,
that
no, I get it. Yeah,
a lot
I
of
was
people yeah, people are doing that. I've hired people straight off of Instagram. Like, I know that sounds risky, but I've reached out to people based on their work on Instagram and say, hey, dude, are you available to take on freelance? And this is where, I have the opportunity to work with people in different countries. Sometimes these people are in like Europe. There was this one dude, oh man, like amazing work, and I think recently he worked on Space Jam. But this is
okay,
pre Space Jam though.
right.
But I saw his work and I reached out to him. I was like, yo man, you what are your rates? And he gave me his rates and I paid him his rate. You know, that's how it works. Like Instagram is now you don't need a website. I mean, I have a website, but you don't necessarily need one these days. Social media is your website. So I think that's something that we have to keep in mind as we're promoting ourselves as artists. That we don't have to create traditional demo reels anymore. You could have an Instagram that is worthy enough to get you a job.
Cool. Well, sir, it's always been a pleasure, and I'm like, we got some other stuff to chat about later. But yeah, gonna see if we can do this. Gonna do for what year four?
Oh, yeah, man. I'll see you next year.
Go. So this is Mr. DeMille Bryant. Word, I'm gonna talk good one day, Damn it, Mr. DeMille Bryant. Signing off with you, man. Say bye, man.
All right. See you later, everybody.
All right. Now let's see if somebody can hang up the phone. Have a good one, man. Alrighty, so let me get straightened back up. Alright, so give me one quick second and we'll dive right in. Where did my window go? Yeah, Tim, it is. It does run a little bit slow. All right, so I'm going to get set up here. I'm going to get ready to have um, our first little, our first video popping up in a second here. So,
Hey, this is Tony Ross for the two.
Alrighty, so about set up here. And our next guest, and this is a pre-recorded video, as again, most of our, excuse me, most of our interviews are pre-recorded. So I had the pleasure of chatting with Susanna Rodriguez, and like one, I think her work looks awesome, and I think at the end I'll be talking about where you can actually see her work on Instagram and everything. So get ready to start this off. Make sure we're good. This is Tony Ross for the 2D Animation Virtual Summit, and I am grateful that we finally caught up with a very talented. I love your work, and I'm trying not to go Tony fanboy, but I love the style of your work. Miss Susanna.
I'm currently working on personal stuff, so not much to always looking for work. We are looking for work. So that's the life of freelance artist, but I'm okay.
I'm liking that. So if I can bug you a little bit, like what first, the reason I first actually even reached out to you is the style of work that you do. I thought it was really, really cool.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're definitely welcome on that. So I'm curious on this because you almost have this a very illustrative style to your work. And I hope I'm not insulting you when I say it's almost a very kind of cute kind of way, like very happy way. So I'm curious on this question. One of the questions I thought about was, when you're working on projects, do you prefer to work on things that are more for a kid's audience or children's audience, or you prefer to work on things that are more geared to an adult audience?
I actually prefer children's because, to be really honest, I always liked cute things. I collect dolls like Monster High, Ever After High, and I always felt familiar with this kind of illustration because one, my mom is a children's book author too. She's an illustrator too. So everything was present. The children's books everywhere in the house. So it is a style that I always felt familiar. I always enjoy it. It's something really, really personal to me. But if someone asking me to do something more adult, I would do it because I'm always open. Of course, it's not something that I'm known for my work because I tend to go for more cutesy things. I think it's also because I always enjoyed very girly things, so like anime for girls, especially Tokyo Mew Mew, Cardcaptor Sakura. So it's always this vibe of cute. Everything is cute. I like cute things. It's part of my personality too. Some of my friends say I'm kind of a mom, so I act like I'm kind of their mom because I'm always worried about them and making sure if they are okay. So I think it's something that resonates with me. I really enjoy the cute aspects of things. That's something And because I do think that children's animation is always underestimated. I think that people think, oh, it's just a little a cartoon show for kids. Who wanted to something like that? I think it is the opposite. It's because it's a children's show that we have to look after what we are doing. We have to check if we are doing something good for the kids, even if it is story, animation, style, because we should respect kids. Kids have taste. They love, they know what they like and dislike. It's really unfair that some adults think that children don't have taste, that they accept everything. They accept everything. No, they don't, because if they did, we would have a mixture of everything. But on the other hand, I do think that adult animation is suffering like something like that too, because people think, oh, it's an adult show. People will eat up anything, and they think it's good. And I do think adult animation also suffers from this. That with kind of lazy. They sometimes are lazy, and lazy humor, lazy everything. And I think we need a balance. I know that people, the most famous and adult animations like BoJack Horseman, they treat their audience with respect. And I think that children's shows should have this too. Children's need and should get respect, because when I approach my work, I think when I was a kid, what I like and what I didn't like, because I think everybody kind of forgets when they were kids. It's like, why would you do that? Because ask yourself, when you were a kid, would you like that? Would people thinking that you don't like something or you dislike something or like something, why people wouldn't do that? It's really unfair, because I think that when I was little, my favorite show was the Powerpuff Girls. And I think that because even as an adult, the show treats the kids with respect. They know the balance and how to find the proper balance for the kids. It's not just something, oh, it's nothing. It's a baby show. It's not. And even adults can enjoy. So I'm always open. I think that animation should be treated as a medium. So we can have adult animation, we can have kids animation, teen animation, and I think that's something that Japan actually understands. They have more adult animation for teens, and animation for kids, and everything is treated with the same respect. So we should learn from anime culture too, that, oh, it's just a kid show. It's not a kid's show. We have to be better than that. It's like we have to have respect for every audience. But again, I do prefer to work with children animation, because I do think that it's important to show respect to kids, because kids deserve good things. They deserve a better understanding, a better shows for them that teach them lessons, but also let them have fun. I don't see any problem with shows that don't have any lessons in the end. It's just natural fun. And I think that it's important. And I try to reflect for my art. I do know that I have a more teen audience for my Instagram, for example, but I do work with kid stuff. So I try to look around and see what kids like or don't like, what is fad, what is not. And it's a really, really hard work. And I do think people kind of disrespect when, oh, you're doing something for kids. Why don't you be lazy about it? Because we shouldn't be lazy about it. It's not like, oh, but it's something your kid's going to watch. So why should I be lazy about it? You don't cook a meal and be lazy about it because, oh, it's just a meal. No, if you want to make it something delicious, you have to focus. You have to take care. It's like any animation drawing, it's a baby. It's like you have to take care of your baby. Don't make it mockery or anything. That's pretty much it. I do think that I'm always trying to be open for adult animation. It's not a style that I a particular fond of, but I'm always open because I believe that you shouldn't avoid certain works just because I don't like it. I never worked with it, so I don't know if I will like her or not. And always, if the team is right, if the people working on it are open and free to do so, it's always important to be open-minded. It's how you get work in the end.
Coolness. So you kind of mentioned this before, and you may have already answered this, but I'm curious. Everybody always talks about the book that changed their life or had a profound effect on them. What animation did that for you?
It was the 1950s Cinderella, Disney Cinderella, the animated movie. I watched it. I'm kind of old. I'm almost 30, but I watched the VHS until it was completely damaged. It's my favorite movie until today. It's still my favorite movie from Disney. I think it has something really magical and touching that I think that not all Disney movies have. I think that Cinderella still is a good role model. She lives in a very difficult situation, but she still tries to find the bright side in it. She still keep going and going, and I think it's really wrong that people underestimate her character. And she's kind, and it's really hard to be kind. It's really hard to be a kind person. People kind of don't understand that because it's not that difficult to be kind. No, it's really difficult to be kind, especially when you live in a very abusive and difficult household since childhood, and she kept that going. So it's something that I always enjoyed about the movie. And I think that it really shows not the animation is really good. It's always been one of my favorite. Mary Blair's art direction, it's one of my favorites too. I actually prefer her Cinderella art directions and concept arts than her Alice in Wonderland's work. It's one of the reasons that make me like Mary Blair's works so much. She is one of my influences, and she is the queen of cute. I can't say anything. She is the queen of cute. It's her work is perfection for me. I love her work. And she is one of my favorites. And Cinderella is so delicate, and it's different. It's hard to express because it's a very personal to me. It's a movie that I watched it with my mom. It was one of my very first Disney movies. According to my parents, the first Disney movie I ever went to the cinemas to watch was The Lion King, but I was 2, so I don't remember anything. But I do remember the experience of watching Cinderella, her first scenes, the way the story is told. I think the movie works really, really well, and it's truly timeless. It's something that not people take for granted, that the stories have to be timeless. You can't focus so much in what is topical. It's TikTok, so we are going to do no. TikTok is going to die one day. Basic fairy tales are here for centuries, so let's go for more timeless stories. I think that's what Disney did actually recently with Encanto. I think that movie is a timeless story about family, and it's also nice to have a Latin experience that is kind of representation that was lacking, in my opinion, as a Latina, that was kind of lacking, but it's a very welcome come back to something timeless. There's not, and Cinderella, like is that it's timeless. You can put a 3-year-old child to watch now and they will like it. It's simple. It's a very simple story, but have such a good characters that you don't mind it was made in the 1950s. You truly don't mind. And something that I truly try to reflect on my work. I try to look for or something that resonates with people, but does not rely on trends so much. I actually try to avoid trends because excuse me, trends die so fast, and I think that we are doing that. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Excuse me. I kind of lose my voice here. Let me drink more water. But that's pretty much it. I think Cinderella is still a perfect movie, and I wouldn't change anything. I still think that the live action movie is so. It's not that great because it loses a little bit of the magic of the original. But there are fans of the live action. I actually like the live action version, but I still think the 1950s one is still the best. I'm going to be a fangirl about it because it's still my favorite movie. I'm going to defend Cinderella. She's still my favorite Disney princess, no matter what. Even as an adult, I still think that it's a great role model for young people that people should see around and actually trying to see the bright side, even when you are doing your best and it's hard. She is hardworking, and I think we are lacking on role models like that. You have to be kind, even if your situation is terrible. Try to be kind. Don't let the situation become you. Don't become a toxic person. Try to be Cinderella. I try to she's not perfect. She has her limits, even it's shown in the movie, but she tries so much, and I try to look for her for inspiration sometimes when I'm really down, and try to be Cinderella. It's so funny because we kind of forget that kindness is something difficult to be a kind person. We take for granted so much, and that's pretty much it. Let me stop because I'm getting a little bit emotional because it's really difficult to talk about it and express that, because people try to make it, I don't know, it's just an old movie. Why you are so teary about it? Because it's a good movie. It's always a good movie. It's something that I watch sometimes, and still a great movie, the way the story is told and so on. The prince could have had a little bit of character development, but he's there, and we like to focus on Cinderella more. It's better to have her character.
He's more of an accessory. So.
Yeah, pretty much. And in the end, she wanted to go to the ball. She didn't recognize him. She said, oh, hi, dude, let's dance. That's pretty much it.
I love that. I do have a question that I didn't send you, but I'm curious about something. The penguins, is that your collection or is that someone else's collection?
It's my mother's.
Okay.
My mom collects squeaky toys and penguins. My dad collects comic books and books in general. My house is full of books. I do collect dolls and animation art books everywhere. So I was exposed really, really early on about artworks and so on. My mom penguin collection was actually a challenge. One of her teachers said, you're going to be those married women with a penguin up in the fridge. And she said, okay, I will. And she collects them since then. But it's my background. I live with the penguins.
I love it. All right. So here's another question for you. If you could snap your fingers and suddenly change one thing about the 2D animation industry, what would it be and why?
I think it would be for them to be more open with outside artists. I think that we have a lot of problems, like the international, being outside in the industry, because the main focus of the industry is still in the USA, is still in California. And I think that even the pandemic taught us that we could do remote work with no problem. And I think that slowly, really, really slowly, we are getting there. But I think that they do kind of avoid international workers. I think that, oh, it's because the country doesn't allow, oh, it's because this and this and that. And I think it's kind of unfair, because we do have a lot of talent that is rejected, that I see around, that, oh, your work is great, but you live in Brazil. What's the problem? I'm living in Brazil. Didn't we talk via internet? Didn't I do the test? What's the problem for you to hire me as freelance for just this job? I think that is a little bit unfair, because you end up losing. And I think that we live in a world that I think that is far more welcome to have perspectives from different angles and even from different cultures. I see that people, oh, Brazil is like this and this, and no, we have a rich animation industry that is growing, but we truly need to be more open. Even here in my country, it's really focused only. In the US, it's California. Here is São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro, that it's really centralized in the animation industry, and it rejects people from the other states, the other cities, and it's really unfair. I think that we should allow, and actually people told me, oh, why don't you just move? Because not everybody has the money to move. I see that from my US colleagues. They live in other states, and they say the same thing. Why do you have to move? Oh, move. Oh, there are a lot of people that don't have the money to afford to live in Burbank, for example. It's really expensive and really unfair, because, oh, so what we do? I don't know. I really wish that the industry was more open for people inside the country, because there are a lot of talented people that live in outside states that is not concentrated in California. And then there are people from other countries that should have equal chance, because in the end, what matters, it's our work, it's our artistic work. It doesn't matter if we come from Japan, Brazil, US, whatever. If that person fits what you need for that work, it shouldn't matter where they are from. That's something that I always learned from my family, that it shouldn't matter. If your work fits for that job, you should get that job. It's rather simple. It's not that, oh, she's from Brazil, how we are going to work? Don't we have the internet? It's something that I work with a lot with graphic work. I work with children's book, and I see that it's far more evolved than the animation industry in with remote work. Usually the illustrator works from home. They don't go to the publish to work there. They work from home and send their work to the publisher. They fix it and ask the changes, show to the author. Everything is organized. So I think why the animation industry isn't like that, I don't know. And it's really hard, because, oh, you need to do more networking. Yeah, sure. But sometimes I see that people are trying to help, but because of certain people, they say, oh, my boss didn't allow me to do that. We really wanted to work with you, but they said that there have problems because you're not from the inside from the country, you don't work. Oh, but I can work remotely. What's the problem with that? I think that the pandemic showed that you can and should work remotely. It's far better. And I think they are losing talented people with that, creating this barrier that, oh, you should move to California, to work there. You should work from Burbank. And even people that are working in Burbank, they are struggling too. I see people, I can't pay the rent because it's too expensive.
Right.
And I say, yeah, it's really unfair. I think that we should rework how the industry has centralized so much in certain places that we end up losing a lot. We end up losing a lot of talent and focusing, it's kind of unfair. It's really unfair. I think that we should rework that. And I hope that in near future, people are more open, especially that it's possible. It's completely possible. I see, people working from Japan. And I see that because I felt like that. But many animation studios sent to Korea to animate a lot of their shows.
Agreed.
So
yeah.
Remote work is possible. So why not allow other countries and other people to work in pre-production, for example? It's really simple. You guys already are doing that. So why not open up for a little bit more? Why not reorganize that? It's just my opinion. I think that we are getting there. I think that we are getting there, but really slow. But I should think that we should move a little bit more. We can do that. I think that it's unfair to people from the US and outside that we are failing people. We're failing outsiders that don't have the privilege to move, don't have the right, can't move. People can't move sometimes, and we are losing people like that. I don't have the money to move to California. I can't afford moving, especially because I have to have a visa and go on, and the process is so lengthy that I think that remote work and the internet, especially, we have the internet, we can do it. We just have to be less afraid, in my opinion. I think it's a little bit of fear that, it won't work. If I work with you and you fail me, it's not your fault, it's mine. You cannot hire me anymore. That's pretty much it. Not because, that Brazilian didn't work well, all Brazilians don't work well. No, it's person to person. It's that. It's not, I'm not going to place everything on that person just because where they are from. It's not that. It's really unfair. I'm not going to work with you anymore because it's unfair. I am one individual. I'm not my country. I'm not representing my country. Sadly, it's my president that represents my country, but I don't represent everybody living here. It's pretty much it that I would change.
Cool. I am loving your responses on that. It's like, yeah, that does make sense. Part of me is wondering, it feels like, as you said, companies even long before the pandemic were already farming work out to Korea and just doing that. It's like maybe one of the solutions is, because it looks like they're not grabbing individuals, but maybe just start your own. And I could see almost starting your own animation company in Brazil and going, yes, this is what we do. Don't you want to hire us to handle this? It'd be kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty much like that. They started doing for the hiring Korea. Even Ranking Bass was already hiring Japan in the late 70s and 80s. So it's like you already do remote work even without the internet.
Right.
We're using fax machines. So it's not like that. It is possible. It's already proven it's possible.
So I have one final question for you, and I'm curious on this, because I'm curious on this with most artists. Does your approach to self-care or scheduling change when you're working on a personal project versus a project for a client?
Well, first of all, personal so projects don't have due dates, so that's something important when a client has a due date. So we have to go fast depending on the due date. But one thing that I try to keep, even it's personal or it's professional, is that I keep a routine that I take care of the house, I take care of my dogs. I always try to find the time to do exercises, physical exercises. I try to take care of my physical health and mental health, because I know if I'm not okay, I won't be able to work on anything. If I don't take care of myself, everything will crumble. I think that sacrificing my health to work, it's really unfair. And I already did that when I was in college, and it wasn't good. I got a really serious cold when I did that. So I try to, I will work on 9 to 10 and then stop, make lunch. Then I am working. I try to reevaluate. It's the due date. It's for next week. Okay, I can separate and rework that and stop doing my personal work. But I try to go with the flow most of the time. If the client is pushy, so be it. You can't control the clients we have, so it's kind of difficult sometimes. But I try to be open and do what they are asking, what they are not, and talk with them. And when you work freelance, you don't have a schedule. You try to, I always working on personal things. When the work shows up, I focusing on the work. I try to deliver as fast as I can because due dates exist, and it's always important to focus on your due dates. It's something that my dad taught me, that never fail your client. Never, always deliver on time, even if it's not 100% finished. If they ask it for that date, you deliver on that date. And then you work around and telling them, okay, let me finish. This is not the final. We can rework more of that. You can always negotiate, but never fail your client. It's something that my dad is an art director for advertising. So he always told me that the illustrators he hired, those that never finished on time and never delivered on time, he never hired again, because they show that they are not compromised. They are not for the work. They are not working, because if they even like that, this person doesn't have the best work, but they always deliver things on time, people will hire them no matter the level of the work, because they are delivering on time. They are doing what they are asked for. If that person has an amazing job, is the top of the top, but they are not delivering on time, I'm not going to hire them. That's something my dad always taught me. I'm not going to hire a person that doesn't deliver on time, because when you work, people truly need your work. They are needing your work. So if you don't deliver on time, it's unfair to other people, because there are designers, there are the people from the marketing, the animators. Sometimes they need your work. You can't say, it's nothing thing, I can do it whenever I want. No, focus. But I always try to stop, do my stretches, do exercises. I focused on the work, but I focus on myself too. It's really important. I learned that if you're not healthy, your work is not healthy. Your work is going to stress so much. Stop it. I sometimes there are days I just stop. I don't work on anything, and then I get it back. It's something I really struggled when I was starting, that I didn't know what to do. Everybody, when they are young, really, really young, when they are starting to do stupid things, but I almost lost the client because I didn't know what to do. I was really lost, and I was kind of prideful when I didn't ask for help. And then my parents helped me because they are from the area. They work with art. I was lucky that I had that, and I delivered on time. It's not my best work, but I deliver on time. And I learned that. I learned it the hard way, actually. I would tell my younger self, don't do that. Don't lack off. Work. It's really hard because you're proud that you got the work, but if you don't deliver on time, it's like that. I always say, I do my best, even it's not I'm not happy in the end because, oh, I should have changed that. I try to be more forgiving of myself. It's like, no, you did your best at the time. It's what you could do. It's the due date was there, and you did what you could do on that time frame. You can't make a miracle and stop time and do the most amazing job and then boom, perfect. We have to live with it. We have it's like when I post a drawing of mine and the next day I say, oh, I made a mistake. And then no, I had a late teacher that she sadly passed away, but she gave me one of the most important lessons that I always try to share, is that if you made a mistake, you can only do two things. Or you learn to live with it and don't make it again, or you redo it and try to avoid the mistake. If it is already polished and it's already professional, live with it and avoid doing it again. That's pretty much it. It's such an important lesson and so simple that we kind of forget because, oh, but I did that mistake. No, you did it, but so what? Move on. Avoid not doing it again. It's really simple. Learn from it and avoid doing it. Like, oh, I wouldn't do it like that. That's part of re-evolving. It's a part of that. Of course, that I don't draw like I drew 2 months ago. Of course not. I avoid mistakes, but I accept and try to be more forgiving of myself too. It's something that people kind of forget. It's that to be more forgiving about your work, not be so stressed out. So it's the best you can do today. Okay, you're going to do better tomorrow, maybe, or maybe not. Try not to stress out so much. It's something that I learned even in therapy, that be more forgiving. It's the key. It's try to be more forgiving. Don't got so caught up that you end up being so much stressed about work that we kind of forget. The pandemic taught us too, don't stress out so much. We are so stressed about scheduling and so that we kind of forget that we have to take care of ourselves too and take care of what matters. Take care of what matters too. I know that it's difficult sometimes. People are there. I do have my sad days that I can't even lift my pencil and draw. And then I said, no, take your time. It's your body saying, take your time. Don't force your mind. Don't force anything. Take your time. Stop. Go walk around the house, take a book, watch a movie. It's not a problem. It's not a problem to stop. It's really not. It's not a problem to slow down a little. I know that we all have due dates. We all have clients that we have to please, but if you have to take a day off, take a day off. It's not a crime. It's something that I learned the hard way, but it's not a crime to take a day off. As long as you deliver everything on time, if you take a day off and you deliver the work on time, that's okay. It's completely okay. It's something that I do. I at least I try because sometimes there are days that you are stressed and you have to move on and accept it and do the work. But if you have the opportunity, stop a little bit, slow down, go bake a cake or something like that, do other things. It's really that simple. And we kind of forget. And we truly kind of forget because we got caught up so much. We got caught up on stress, and that's pretty much it. It's I know that it's sometimes it's simple, but it's not. It's like that. I try to respect my limits and respect my body and respect my client. Simple like that. But that's pretty much it. I don't have much to say. I try to be.
I am loving all of that. Well, Susanna, this has been awesome, and thank you again so much for doing this. It's
Thank
been
you
extremely
too
insightful.
for inviting me.
Yeah, and I was trying not to interrupt. I was like, oh wow, that's really deep. That's really deep. That's really deep. I was like, oh wow, that's deep too. So yes, thank you so much. This has been Tony Ross for the 2D Animation Virtual Summit with Miss Susanna Rodriguez. And thank you again so much. And want to say bye?
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Alrighty. So yes, that was Susanna Rodriguez. And yes, I got your notes on the volume. I think we got it fixed now, so the rest of the video should work. We're about to break for lunch because it's noon here in Atlanta, and we'll be back on at 1. And this afternoon, I believe we have Chris Burns from Exit 73 Studios, as well as we're going to be closing out the day with Mark Simon, Godfather Storyboarding, and he's going to be talking and giving some advice on freelancing and how freelancing does not have to be a crap ride. And thanks, Mark, for letting me know it's called an acronym. That is the word I kept trying to remember. So, meanwhile, I'm going to there we are. So, a couple things I want to talk about. I think when we get back, I want to kind of play around and animate our little stick figure a little bit more. If you tuned in yesterday, I went through just some teaching some basic rigging. Excuse me, in Toon Boom Harmony. And we built this little stick dude out from scratch. And if you didn't catch that, that is, I want to say there's it's actually on our Tony Teach YouTube channel. So also what is happening as far as the way the summit is running, some of the interviews are longer than 45 minutes. But what we're doing during the summit is we're showing the 45-minute section of that. And after, on next week, you'll actually see the uninterrupted. There's going to be no comments or anything, but we'll be posting a full playlist of the full interviews. So there'll be a playlist of this week, but there's also going to be a playlist of like the full interviews, and both of those will be on YouTube for free because we're doing all of this for free. So, So I think I want to do one quick thing here. I was playing with my poses, so I'm going to do something really ugly. And copy that key. Excuse me. And maybe I'm going to actually move this guy over a little bit more. for that pose. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll paste that little guy back. So we're having a little settle there. Just a subtle little thing. Settle, settle. One of those. And maybe we'll rock his head just a little bit. Ah, there. So yeah, this is just a simple little way, and this is what I use to actually teach people some basic rigging in Harmony. Like, for instance, if I have the foot here, if I press the letter B on my keyboard, I can go up the hierarchy. Press the letter B again, goes up the hierarchy that way. If I go B one more time, it goes to the lower body. And then B once more, it's going to go to the entire body. And if you notice where the pivot points are changing out, it's because I have pegs attached to each one of the drawings here. But yeah, this is my little stick dude exercise. And last but not least, before we break from lunch, I think I'm going to set this on 2s. Right now this is just tweening. And I am building this out in 20. There's a different timing thing you can actually do in Harmony 21. But for this one, I have all my keys on odd numbers. And I'm going to come in here and just highlight all these, quit that. And I want to create keyframes on. So get rid of these little tweens here. And I'll do keyframe every 2 frames. And basically now it's like I'm doing something on 2s. So if I play this, okay, cool. All right. So here's the deal. We are going to end this particular broadcast, and we'll be starting up another one in about 10 minutes, but you'll see a little lunch countdown timer because we're going to be on lunch from 12 to 1. And when we come back, I'll talk a little bit of shop and a little bit more about Toon Boom and some of the other practices I use, as well as we're going to have wow, how did I forget that name that quickly? We'll start the interview showing up again. Chris Burns. Good grief. Chris Burns will be starting at 1:15 Eastern Standard Time. So, and again, feel free to share the YouTube link and the information. The more people that know about what we're doing, it means we can keep doing this. So, all right. I think we're getting ready to break for lunch. If I can double check on my time. La 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 la. Oh wow, I'm way ahead of time. So yes, we got a little more room than I thought. I don't know why I thought it was right before noon. Nope, we got 15 minutes. So one last little thing we'll do here. I think I do want to actually go ahead and save this little guy out, or this little character. Or either that or make him do like a little, a different pose here. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and save this little guy out and pretty much have it. That way I can bring in this to another scene if I'd like. Quick way of doing this. So I'm going to zoom in here so you can see everything. if I grab like all of my node view except for these last two bottom pieces. So I've got my composite and all of the different sections. So I have my backdrops here. What I'm going to do is go ahead and group this. So we'll do Command G. That's Control G on PC. And if you look, it's this one tiny little group here. Come here. Great. Okay. So I have this group, and one, I probably need to give it a name, something like Stick Dude Group. All right. We'll close that. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull up my library. Over here. December. Cool. And what I'm going to do, I need to right click here and open this library, right to modify. So this is my little December library. If you're using Harmony and you've never used their libraries, you've got 3D Model Symbols, Harmony Premium Library, but then I have my own little libraries, which are directories that I've created. So I have one for September here. So I can copy this little group, Command C, Control C on PC, and come into here, and I'll go ahead and paste. And yeah, I'll keep it called that. And that way, when I decide to make a new document, save. Great. If I make a new document, Command N, call you Stick Dude New. Which, by the way, I'm curious, and if y'all can let me know in the comments. I know I got when I first started doing tutorials, I got my start using Harmony, like Harmony Essentials, as far as the new versions, everything like that. I haven't actually done an Essentials tutorial in a while. If you all would like me to do something in Harmony Essentials this week, let me know. Let's see. Okay, great. So we have a totally brand new document here. And what I'm going to do, it says drawing. I'm going to get rid of that drawing for a second. So disconnect it. So there's nothing on my timeline. And we'll just delete that. Yes, thank you. So Stick Dude Group. I'm going to drag this over to my node view. And if I connect this to the composite, great. There is our Stick Dude. So I just dragged that into a totally different thing. And I already had animation attached to this, but if you wanted to set up your rig where it didn't have any animation, you can do that as well. I didn't do that this time. And if you're wondering, well, yeah, that's great, but where did all the stuff go? It's actually inside this group. So if you ever look at a Toon Boom rig and it looks very simple like this, look for something that looks like this little really light blue window or node here. Clicking on that little arrow, I can go inside and see where all of the parts are. And when I want, I can go back up by pressing this little arrow, and it takes me back up to the top part there. All right, so we're going to go ahead and break now, and we'll be back on at 1. And again, we're going to be changing out this particular feed. So all you would have to do is still go back to animationsummit.net and just reload the page, and you should see, I'm going to put a lunch timer up. So once it's ready, and we'll be back on at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this has been Tony Ross for the 2D Animation Virtual Summit. This is day 2. We're going to take a break and see y'all back after lunch.